Each night the pain so mellow, I come in dark of shadows. Hello, hello for tomorrow. For you, today is for singing. For me, the phones are ringing. Till light is gone tonight. Hello, hello for tomorrow. Life brings me down in dreams of sound. I live my life beyond these walls and leave you in the daytime. Return with dark to sleep here. Hello, hello for tomorrow. For me, the day is so humdrum. I long to see the night come. Yes, life is ordinary. Hello, hello for tomorrow. Day brings me down in dreams of sound. Life brings me down in dreams of sound. Day brings me down in dreams of sound. Life brings me down in dreams of sound. Day brings me down in dreams of sound.
Girl, you refresh me like ice cold cola. My heart is requesting for you to come over. I know I'm obsessing about this being over. 'Cause you are the best thing, you are the best thing. Oh no, I'm not drawn to you, oh no. And I hope that you won't go anywhere. 'Cause you are the best thing, I know I'm obsessing. Oh.
If my girl leave me, then I sleep with her sister. Think about the situation at family dinner. If they ain't about it, then I will be the mister. I'll switch with the papa in the family picture. Oh my god, we can't end like this. Yeah, we be together like this and like kids.
Test, test.
Testing.
Like this. Yeah, and the
Yo.
I'm scared like
All right, yo, Nader. Yo, welcome back. Doing some introductions to each other up here. If you're upstairs and you're eating food and or trying to bother Beth to get some coffee, she's back at 2. You should know that. So just come down here and wait it out till 2. Welcome back. I hope you all enjoyed lunch. I hope you enjoyed some beverages. Maybe you're feeling a little bit more rejuvenated, a little bit more life in your veins after what I know has been a very long week for everyone. So shouts out to you for getting through it and being here. So we're going to focus a little bit more on, we talked a lot about the storage aspects of a cross-chain future. We've talked about identity. We've talked about just like the certain protocols that are being built out by teams like Polkadot this morning with Tomas. And now I think we're going to focus more on what it really takes to create that ecosystem, which obviously lends us towards like funding and funding ecosystems of the cross-chain and multi-chain future, which is probably something that I think a lot of us take for granted because a lot of us are in this like privileged world where, we know people, we are running projects or we've worked for projects, it's gotten us connected, we like know how to find money. But working at Celo, I've seen a lot of people coming from all over the world who are just jumping at opportunities to get ecosystem funding of any kind, and it doesn't seem as obvious to them. So I wanted to take a moment to kind of, in that focus and in that lens, look forward towards this multi-chain future that we talk about and see what does the different ecosystems, what they do or what they're planning to do to help fund and create that for themselves. So on this panel, we have Peter Morick from Polkadot. Hold your applause.
Thank you for having me. Applause.
Nice. We have Nader. Nader, your last name, how do I pronounce it?
It's Dabbit.
Dabbit?
That's right.
Dabbit. Don't get it wrong. You heard it here first. And then over here, we have my homie and friend, Eric Nakagawa, representing C Labs. Yeah, how you feeling?
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here.
I'm just going to do a quick plug because I love Eric. Eric's the inventor of lolcats from Facebook back in the day. And he ran open source at Facebook before realizing that like Celo was cooler and came over here, and we're very happy to have him. So let's kick this off. First of all, how you feeling? How was your week?
Long.
Yeah? You made you threw a couple parties, so I think you made a lot of people's week long. You deserve it.
They were fun. If anyone else came, thank you for coming.
How was your week, Nader?
Well, this is my first Ethereum conference.
Oh,
it's actually my
welcome.
first community event in the whole blockchain space or anything like that at all. So I've just been having probably the best time of my life, and I don't want to leave.
Paris is
New
also
blood.
nice.
New blood is very exciting. Okay. Eric?
Yeah, and Nader did some workshops for the Graph, the
Yep.
team that he recently joined. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was here on Wednesday doing a workshop. I'm sorry, I was here on Tuesday doing a workshop. I did a workshop at ETHCC on Wednesday, and then we have Gitcoin Hackathon starting tonight. If anyone wants to come to that, it's 2 days. You can find it, I think, on Google or something.
Yeah.
I'm doing a workshop there tomorrow.
Nice. Wow, they're really getting their money's worth out of you this week. Never wants to leave, yet is working the whole time. Okay, Eric, how are you feeling this week?
I feel pretty good. I love the venue that we have here. We had a really good time talking with folks at ECC. Got to meet a lot of fun projects, and I got to see a couple really good talks. So
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah. A couple, not all of them.
I was at the booth for most of the time, so I did sneak away. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, now we hit a little bit of a warm-up icebreaker. Let's just jump into it. So, you both work at layer ones or work on layer ones. Can't really work at 'em, or-
Correction.
Yeah.
Polkadot's layer 0.
Okay.
Parachains are layer 1 blockchains, but for this, for the context of this conversation, I'll play along.
Yeah. Do you want to lead the panel or?
It's okay. It's a weird. I usually do, so it's a
Yeah.
weird situation.
Oh no,
for me.
I
It's
love
fine.
it. I have all the
Continue.
power. So Polkadot a 0.5 layer, and Celo layer 1. What is it like, at least in your just initial thoughts, as you think about the multi-chain future? What you've heard here today, throughout the week. What is like the thing that jumps out to you? That's like, okay, we should fund that. From your specific perspectives of your chains, we should fund that.
Well, I mean, I guess just to start off, like we fund a lot. We fund everything.
We get it, Peter. Polkadot's a big deal.
So generally speaking, anything that is valuable to Polkadot or the Web3 ecosystem broadly, we're looking
What's that
to
mean?
fund.
Let's double click on that. What's Web3 ecosystem broadly mean as when it comes to valuable for you?
Generally speaking, decentralized protocols that will replace the internet as we know it today. So being able to produce the same products and services that people rely on in Web 2 using protocols that aren't controlled by, say, Facebook or Google. So at this point in time for the Web3 Foundation and Polkadot generally, that's primarily Polkadot because we believe it's like the best bet against this sort of maximalist viewpoint that we have, a lot of people have in the ecosystem, and by bridging all the technologies that are out there today. So a good example of that is these trustless bridges that Tomek was talking about earlier today. There's actually no protocol that exists today, including Ethereum, that has fully trustless interoperability between protocols. So Polkadot and Kusama will be the first to actually have that across all major protocols. So we're seriously funding those projects, and they will be common good layer 1 parachains on Polkadot from the jump.
So to simplify what you're saying that there is no existent bridge right now between two ecosystems, two layer 1 to layer 0.5 ecosystems, that is in itself fully decentralized, fully trustless. We have wrapped ETH, we have wrapped tokens, we even have plug TBTC, which I helped get off the ground, and even TBTC is itself quite centralized still in its sense that there's only so many keep nodes in the world, and these projects have to rely on getting their actual infrastructure diversified and decentralized before actually being this trustless bridge, no matter what the mechanism design originally even is. which is a great point. I think it's every ecosystem has that issue. I mean, like billions and billions and billions of dollars, but the validator set is maybe like 100. So Eric, from the Celo side of things, like what excites you in the multi-chain future that you think is worth funding?
Got it. Yeah. So I think we're really excited about the work around the optic standard. I think that work will introduce primarily a lot of things that we don't necessarily know how people are going to build things. So we want to, I think, fund a lot of exploration in that space. There's a bunch of, I guess, ideas that we'll be talking about later today. I think people are going to be doing some pitches. But I think, generally speaking, giving folks that have maybe some great idea or just want to try something out is where we want to primarily focus for people that are trying to build and work on interoperability. The other thing that Celo does pretty well is work on mobile. So trying to understand, is there a story there? Is there a way to allow people that are building or using mobile application or mobile devices to more easily work between these things? I think providing people optionality is the right move. It gives people options and choices, and I think we want to focus on stuff like that. Yeah.
So in a sense, like kind of saying we're providing almost like a mobile vertical for a lot of these already existing projects on Ethereum, and they can redeploy and or bridge their projects through like an optic standard or like another bridging standard, and then create a mobile version of that asset or that project. And that is, that's what you're saying.
I mean, I think that's a great way to kind of review it. It's just like, how do we get more folks to use, to get into the crypto world, DeFi world, whatever, through mobile device? And I think having options is one way. It may not be the only way, but it's one way. And that's why we're excited about having projects, interop. So.
Yeah. Nader, what do you think of all this? You're coming from the graph.
Yeah, I mean, coming from really different perspective, probably because I've only really been in this ecosystem in this space for about 5 months. But the thing that I've seen happen in the Web 2 space over the last couple of years that's really been interesting to see is the focus on developer experience. And then coming into this space, I feel like there's a huge lack of both developer experience as well as like user experience. So I think anything that's there to improve those two things will kind of solve some of these problems as far as like getting more talented people into the ecosystem to start building out some of this stuff. So I think anyone that's focusing on kind of lowering the barrier to entry for developers, but also for users, is something like that stands out to us immediately.
Wow, I feel like there was some heart in that. Some like user pain has definitely been felt by Nader in these last few weeks. No, that's a great point, and I think the graph even does a good job of focusing on like making a very seamless like user experience, even from the developer side of things, right? So let me just kind of build on top of that. Like when you think of Polkadot in 5 years, and let's say the user experience has improved and all of these things have kind of gotten taken care of, hopefully. What do you see? Like what projects from the Ethereum ecosystem, what projects from other ecosystems, or how do you see Polkadot interacting in this bridge world?
Yeah, so it's sort of a broad statement, but I would expect in the next 5 to 10 years that out of, say, the top 25 to 30 chains by market cap, half of them would be hosted on Polkadot, and all of them would be interoperable via Polkadot.
You trying to drop your mic right now?
I won't do that to you. I'll pay for the conference. That said, like the broader goals, like in terms of like where the community and ecosystem is going, like a big goal is for all the funding and development in the ecosystem to be completely on-chain. So Polkadot has a substantial on-chain treasury and governance that works in order to actually distribute those funds. So that's the other things like Web3 parity, not like needing to go out and dispense funds as a company or a foundation, but it all be driven by the community via the on-chain treasury, which already dispenses millions of dollars a year. I don't look at crypto prices that often, so it used to have $1 billion or $2 billion in capital.
I feel like on these panels, there's always that moment where the person's like, "Oh, by the way, just so you know, I don't actually look at crypto prices."
But now it's like much less. That's why I don't look.
Yeah. I'm doing well enough. I don't need to be concerned about that. That's a really good point, and it kind of makes me wonder. Like you talked about the community and the community deciding what goes forward in the funding from Polkadot in this like multi-chain future. And this is open to all of you, but I'll start with Eric. when you see a community wanting to fund something, you see a community suddenly getting excited about a memed idea, like a unicorn app, something like that. What are the signs that you look for? Like, how do you know that that's actually what like this is not just a psyops campaign by a bunch of bots? Like, what do you see in the community that makes you like, oh, this is worth doing?
That's a good question. I think when you look at a project or an idea for a project, a lot of the times it really comes down to who that person is in your community. And I think if you're trying to provide a way to produce some sort of system for reviewing these things, how people have contributed in the past is a good indicator, not always the best indicator. Like you had mentioned before, the passion or the I think the more specific a thing is sometimes is a good indicator that they really know what the problem is they're trying to address. And then there's the other side of it, which is sometimes you just want to see what happens, right? It's not that you're just throwing money away. You're just not sure, but there's a space that seems interesting, and it's worth putting some attention there, especially if there's interest from the community. At the end of the day, the developer community for all the projects around the ideas that they're creating is the community, right? It's like you are a part of it. We're all a part of it, and ideas that we have through many different mechanisms, through grants or starting up a company, starting another project, contributing itself. I think all those play into what each community is, and a lot of that kind of stems from the values of the founding team, the projects that they put their attention to. So generally, I'd say there's a lot of different ways you can look at it, but really it's just, has somebody been working on or really pushing an idea? Do they care about it a lot? And is it something that's like just worth investing in just to see, right? I think a lot of us, if we can unlink ourselves, the L1, the people that are running 0.5 projects, and really depend on the community will have quite a bit of ideas. And I think steering that or trying to influence that in a decentralized manner is a bit of the challenge. But
Yeah. Well, on top of that, I think one of the questions I have, and this is maybe a controversial view because we're all like organizations who are trying to like in some sense share developer talent or like steal developer talent to some extent, which is why we're hosting a peace conference. At this point, cross-chain devs.
Give me your Rust devs.
Yeah, cross-chain devs, like Rust devs, are going to become this and are this like very sought
Literal
after
unicorns.
Yeah, very sought after unicorn community of devs. But it kind of makes me think of this other side of things, which is really solid community projects that happen in ETH also kind of came from people who were actually building the core aspects of the Ethereum like protocol, and they were like core devs, core team members that actually at a real company, you would never want to lose them. You would not encourage them to walk out the door and go start their own project. And you definitely see that happen in this space. And to me, I think maybe we should continue to encourage that. And what does that look like for you? Like, what have you seen from the core dev community that was building Polkadot or Kusama, and just what happened?
Yeah, well, we need them for another year or two.
Don't go anywhere.
But after that, I mean, I would imagine Gav talked about this fairly recently, like building ETH with him and maybe one or two other people. At least originally just him, took 5 days.
Yeah.
Polkadot's taken almost 5 years with 50 devs, researchers of very high quality, and it's going to take another year or two to get everything really fully up and running. But after that, in this sort of third wave of parachains that go live, I would expect a couple of the core devs that actually built Polkadot to be in a place to make whatever their ideas for and many of them have ideas for their own sort of layer one ecosystems. Will spin out and do that, and I'm really excited to see what it is, because those will be the chains that really blow shit up.
Those are the unicorns.
It's going to be wild, yeah. And I have no idea what it's going to look like, and I want to encourage it, but in a year or two.
Yeah. Well, take the same question, and to add on to it, do you think that your core protocol, those engineers, yes, they're building amazing things, but isn't it the point that they should hopefully find people to replace them so they can build those amazing things quicker?
Yes, but we think there's 1,000 Rust devs in the world that are of the quality necessary to build a protocol like Polkadot and Substrate, and we employ 125 of them.
Yeah.
So they're hard to find, and so we'll see.
So
we need more, broadly speaking.
it's great to hear that. I actually think there's opportunity for all these projects to invest in growing more developers, right? I think a lot of us are all headhunting the same people, but being a part of any sort of developer community, there's always people at different layers. And I think projects like Polkadot, the Graph, we're all trying to get more people onboarded, but we're aiming at different parts of experience levels. But if we look a little bit deeper, like you had mentioned Russ quite a bit, there's a chance to grow these developers, and in those 2-3 years, as you folks are building and growing, these people are going to be coming up, and I think they need a shot. And the thing I love about this community is they can do it without anybody's permission.
Yeah.
Right? That's the one thing I just love about it, is they're going to build it anyway, especially if they're young and they don't know what no means, or they don't have any limits. They have no fear. And I think that's a really promising part, although it's really hard to prioritize everybody. It's just, if you look far enough down the road, the investment you make now in a community, the beginners, the middle, middle level, they could become the ones that you want, working on your thing. So
Yeah, that's the other really good thing about Polkadot as an ecosystem is like, yes, once we have the core protocol up, like that's great, but then there's hundreds of layer 1 blockchain ecosystems building on it, and all of those teams are also doing marketing, BD, and recruitment of devs. So it's exponential scaling of the efforts that we are actually been undertaking for the last 5 years.
Yeah, Nader, I'm going to let you take this. By the way, if anyone's looking for Rust developers, apparently Polkadot has 125 of them. So
Nice. No, it seems like, again, coming to this space fairly recently compared to some of the people here. To me, the biggest difference is like the nature of how a lot of the teams operate and a lot of the individuals that I've met operate. It's becoming like more and more distributed and more like decentralized and more global and more like piecemeal. So like I definitely see the tendency like in the next few years for things to continue to kind of be more fragmented, and like you find people that are the best at what they do and you hire them for that, and you don't really keep them forever. You need them to accomplish this one goal, and you might continue a relationship with them. But like really, once you build something and it becomes successful, and then those people go continue doing things maybe based on that thing that they built. You encourage that, but you also continue that relationship, and you might still work with them again in the future. But it's less of like a full-time thing and more of kind of like a grant type of thing, and just like the grants that we're talking about. That's kind of the way I see it.
Well, so I like your point, Eric, about maybe, and I'm just going to take liberties with this, but to extrapolate it to its most ridiculous, maybe instead of every, few months there being hundreds of thousands of dollars being spent on like Ethereum conferences and these like meetups that we do, we were actually just throwing like fostering developer talent through those types of conferences. I mean, like this is
How much money did the crypto ecosystem just grant Paris this week?
Oh, easily over $1 million.
That is shot in the wet, dude.
Yeah.
25 mil.
No.
Oh, fuck yes.
Oh God, we're terrible. No, so I like this idea, and Nader, you're coming from like deep React world. Like you both originally met actually in the React world.
Yeah, I've like been a huge fan of Eric, so I'm kind of like honored to be on the stage with him, and I've always followed him, so it's pretty cool to meet him. But I mean, back to the discussion around education and stuff. My role is developer relations, and you were developer relations at one point, or no? You were, right. So like developer relations is all about teaching and getting people, lowering the barrier to entry to kind of show people how to do something and kind of like opening the door.
Yeah.
And you kind of mentioned like we have this lack of high quality senior developers maybe or whatever. Maybe there's just a lot more demand for them. I think education is one of the things that I really like to do and I'm focusing on, and I also agree that it's super important.
Yeah.
So we're working on a lot of projects around that.
Yeah, the graph is definitely out there trying to get as many people on board as possible. Did you have a?
Yeah, I just think that like because there are a somewhat finite, limited, amount of senior whatever talent, the top of their class, I think there's opportunity for those folks to really set an example. Like a success of a project begets more projects. It just is. Like, is it what it is? If I see a good project, people are going to copy it. They're going to try another thing. It will likely not work. Who knows? Hard to predict the future. But even like thought leadery types of positioning, I think is going to be really important to bringing a bunch of attention to the space. And like I said, in a couple of years, it'll pay off. But it's investing now for the future that I think a lot of us are thinking about. How do we stay relevant long enough for that to matter? But by doing that work now through maybe grants towards education, grants towards making things easier for projects in general through standardization. Happy to chat about that any other time. That will be an investment in the future. And a lot of the folks here attending, watching, speaking, they have a chance to kind of like excite people about this space. There's dollars on, there's a board with all the dollars and, listing all the projects, and that's one metric. But really, it's having control of your career, getting to the next level, not having to, get an answer for somebody. That's a type of power that a lot of other projects like Nader and I met through some React Native stuff, which was super fun, but it wasn't the same here where you can like come to this conference, have an idea, like launch a thing if you coordinate it right, launch a thing, and that becomes your thing. It could even be your part-time thing. But then with enough time, you're going to be more skilled for the next thing. And I think that's the thing I love about this space. It's evolved, and it keeps evolving super fast. I don't see it slowing down, but that's my take. I think there's a chance for us to show leadership by speaking out more about where things should go next.
Yeah. Big next question, and it's going to be a little controversial, and I don't really care. I am fascinated by, and I mean, we're talking about ecosystem growth, ecosystem development, right? And educating people and bringing on the meme builders. Fascinated by anon devs. And I think if we're talking for realistic purposes here, in a highly political, multi-chain, like current existence that we're in, we should be encouraging anon devs, and I want to know your guys' thoughts on this.
Like anonymous, pseudonymous, or just completely?
Anonymous, pseudonymous devs. I think there's probably, if you really look around the Ethereum space, people who are anon devs are probably people who are also like already existent, well-known people in the Ethereum space, and they just see a problem that needs fixing, and they don't want to attach their name to it.
Or they anon hack it.
Or they anon hack it.
Exploit it.
Yeah. So yeah, what are your thoughts? How does an ecosystem fund or support an anonymous or pseudonymous developers?
I mean, I've been watching and keeping up with, and I'm pretty fascinated by the whole pseudonymous identity and community and ideas. I think Balaji's is someone that I've been kind of following on Twitter, just hearing his ideas and rants around it. It seems pretty interesting to me. I think, like, me personally, I've created a pseudonymous identity. And
what is it?
Yeah, yeah. I'll tweet it out later from my main account. So I definitely see, the reason that you would do that, a lot of different reasons, and I would probably like encourage someone if they just to have one, just in case or whatever. I don't know, like we never know what's going to happen.
Everyone should be an anon. I love that. That's the mission statement now on.
So,
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say, this I think is another argument for why like decentralized on-chain community-driven treasuries are going to be extremely valuable long-term. It's a lot harder for a Swiss foundation to give a grant to someone they can't identify.
Yep.
But a on-chain protocol with billions of dollars to dispense to improve the protocol, or a parachain having its own treasury and building projects on top, all of the resume that's potentially needed to gain that funding is an account on chain tied to a GitHub or Twitter account or other anon identity that has shown value to building or hacking or memeing or whatever else.
Wow, it's like we should have had a panel on cross-chain identity at some point. Oh wait, we did. No, go ahead.
So I was gonna say I think that there's a strong correlation between anonymity and the ability to create. And I think with art, right, there's a lot of when you disassociate your personality from what people know you as, and you focus on the things that you want to create, it unlocks a whole world, right? And so as it applies to the crypto space, I think it's happening anyway. I think it's going to be interesting that a person may be, or their identity may be anonymous, but they can prove that they are that person. And so as long as the work gets done, I think there's a really big opportunity for grant opportunities for folks to put stuff out there. And if that anonymous person does work and has a track record, even though it's not really associated to their public persona, I don't see a problem. You know what I mean? Like now they may do things that I don't agree with, and so maybe they just don't. That personality doesn't get a future grant. But if there's folks that are willing to do work under a different name, I think that seems pretty interesting. I think compelling, really compelling.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to encourage for the pitch event, which, by the way, if you're pitching, come over here and sit in this side booth. I see you guys out there. We're going to talk after this panel. But I was actually kind of curious to see if I could get somebody to anonymously pitch, like find a way to just like send in a video. They're doing whatever.
Paper bag it.
Yeah, like I would love to see that happen. And I think in the future I'm going to try and organize an anonymous pitching event.
I love it.
at an undisclosed location
Yeah.
at an undisclosed time.
We're going to be even more secret than the Rave. Yeah. So I think for a final question here is, what is, and obviously you guys can start off in any order, what is something about your chain that you think other chains need? Like, what is the value that you think when these bridges exist? What value does Polkadot bring to the other ecosystems? What value to Celo, obviously? And the graph, you guys are just going to work with everybody. So, I mean, like, just give me your general thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, the graph is, something that just enables you
Yeah.
to combine everything together. So you can kind of have an application and have performant queries and get data from everyone's chains, put it together, create your own data models and stuff like that. So we're meant to, work with everyone.
Yeah.
Radical decentralization is only available via robust on-chain governance.
Polkadot.
I think from our perspective, Celo, I think there's all this great technology and a lot of deep thinking that goes into stuff. We want to help people come on and be accessible to a lot of folks. So I think one of the main focuses of Celo is around mobile, our mobile applications and mobile accessibility. And I think that will improve the lives of a lot of people in the world, and they get to use all these things depending on their level of risk appetite. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Ooh, Risk Appetite is a super solid, like, indie rock band name. So gonna lock that down. Well, I want to say thank you to all of you and to your ecosystems and the stuff that you're building. And yeah, I think that this has been a solid little discussion on community ecosystem growth.
I'm also a judge, and I accept bribes in DOT and KSM.
Yeah, we'll be also, yeah, we're gonna start the pitches at around 2:10 probably, maybe a little bit sooner. But yeah, stick around for those. We're gonna definitely encourage like audience participation, snaps, claps, and questions. Each person will have 5 minutes to pitch their idea. If you're a pitcher, which I think I can see a couple behind you there, come over to this side area, and we're gonna get things started around 2.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so if you're on the Crosschain messaging panel, get up here.
How much do I love you?